I love McFarland. I love it from my heart to my toes. I just love McFarland. I love talking to you guys, and I do not love I never loved the Bradley Beal trade rumors. I miss them a little bit, but the Bradley Beal trade rumors that that seems like a decade ago, doesn't it?
It does. While we're in the trust tree here, Bradfo, are you a little disgusted at Mego and her negativity? It's offensive, isn't it?
No, I think she's just trying to brace herself for the fall. Isn't that the case?
Protecting herself.
I mean, yeah, I don't blame her. We have to. It was like Game 7. How many people picked the Bruins for Game 7 in Boston? I'm going to give you the answer. Nobody.
Me.
Nobody.
Well, me.
Oh, okay. You were the only one. You were the lone wolf.
Genius often walks alone, as Gary Tanguay famously said. But I know.
Bradfo's right. I'm like a hot M&M.
Yeah, but Bradfo.
Tough candy exterior, gooey and warm inside.
Well, Bradfo, a lot of people I know pick the Leafs in Game 7, bet the Leafs in Game 7 just to, kind of cover all their bases. So I get that logic, I guess.
Yeah, there's nobody. Just to go with your heart. Just say, hey, you know what? We're all in. Like, I made a plea on Saturday. I made a plea to the TD Garden crowd to actually bring the noise, because the crowds in Boston for the last 3 years have not been good. They haven't been good when it counted the most. And sure enough, I feel like I was partly responsible for their winning, because the crowd was really good.
I think they all said after the game, if it wasn't for Rob Bradford,
it was Bradfo
saying that on the radio that day, then we might not have won this game. Yeah.
I actually hired the kid who was pouring beer on his face for the Xander Bogaerts home run in 2021 wild card game. I hired him to go section to section. I think it worked.
Bradford, can we please get to baseball?
Yes, baseball. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, I want to ask you something that I asked Alex Cora about last week, which was he was talking about the difference in chemistry that he's had to build from spring training to who the team is now, like literally who the team is, because they've had so many injuries. When I asked him who's kind of leading that dynamic of the chemistry in the clubhouse, he said it's a lot of the young guys, and almost in a way like they don't really even know better. And my immediate thought was like, where is Devers in all of this? I feel like it's been seasons now. Xander was gone last season. Mookie was gone before that. Is Devers ever going to be the guy who's in the locker room and saying, like, hey, this is who our team is and I'm the leader? Or is that just not the part that he wants?
Yeah, it's a good question, Megan. And, like, I've always said this, is that they wanted to sort of force feed us Rafael Devers. It's his. Alex Cora actually said this at one point last year. It's his team. And we're like, no, it isn't. And that's not a knock on Devers. It's just who he is. It's like when Mookie Betts went to the Dodgers, he gave a speech to the Dodgers when he got there because he had the big contract. He was the star. And guys in there, I think my co-author, Joe Kelly, said it was cringy. There's nothing against Mookie. It's just not who he was. The guy last year was Justin Turner. There was no question about it. It wasn't like he had to get on a stool in the middle of the room, but everybody knew Justin Turner was the guy. Meanwhile, Devers was going to be who he was. And the guy that I just talked to, I'm in New York right now, I just talked to Alex Verdugo. We forget, like, Alex Verdugo called a team meeting because he wanted to be a leader last year.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, we didn't forget.
I remember.
We remember.
Right. Right. But that's the point, is that you can't force feed any of this. And that was one of the narratives coming into this year. So that's why I think it was a good question. Yeah, sure. You can have a bunch of these young guys who don't know any better, so forth and so on. But there is an element of having the guy that has been through it, even if they're not that good, the guy that you can lean on that has been through it through the course of a 7-month season. And that guy, we're going to have to find out if any of these guys emerge, or are they going to get that guy, at the trade deadline? Because that can be a powerful thing.
Bradfo, have expectations changed for this team internally, like with ownership or the front office? I think we've sort of agreed that, in the clubhouse, they are just kind of ignorance is bliss and they're going out there and playing. But now that they've got a month under their belts and they're over 500, is ownership looking at this team any differently?
We don't know yet. We don't know. And I think that's still, we would love to have an answer to that right now, Christian, but we can't say that, and they can't say that because we're only in May, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place at the end of June last year. So everybody knows this can take a turn for the worse. Now, the biggest question, and we've been targeting this, I think, since spring training, what will happen? What will be the approach if they are in it come July? And I can tell you, and you hear Craig Breslo almost, I don't want to say calling out ownership, but certainly saying, I would hope that they would have the same commitment that they have had in the past when we were in it. I'm paraphrasing, but he said those along those lines. So I know what Craig Breslo wants, and I know how he wants to approach it. But to answer your question, we just don't know right now. My guess is that if they're in it, it's as hard as it was to go through an off season without the shock and awe and without the investment. It's going to be a whole lot different story and a lot harder for this fan base to stomach if you get to the deadline and you don't do anything again.
Talking to Rob Bradford, WEEI and the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast. You're on Jones and Mego with Arcan. You just talked to Verdugo, is that right?
I did.
What?
Yes, I did.
Well, I know he's not shy about saying anything. What'd he say?
Well, nobody really had talked to him, and since he left in spring training, he wasn't around when the Red Sox played. And obviously, he had come out a few different times, including when he had his first press conference, and said, "Hey, yeah, it's nice that I'm able to be myself finally here, and some people have my back," which, of course, everyone raised a red flag with that about him calling out Alex Cora. So in my conversation, he didn't back down from that. He said, I got along with Alex. I liked Alex, but toward the end, I'm paraphrasing, it got dicey because the way that he put it was that he felt like there was a lot of stuff that was made public that in his eyes didn't need to be made public. So that's where I think that it really stung him. And that's where these comments come from in terms of, I'm in a much better place. Isn't this great? Yankee land and everything else like that. But, when you talk to Verdugo, it's not like you have to ask a lot of questions. He's going to get there. It's like when I asked about, I talked about last year about personality in the game, he ends up ripping Alex Manoah. He's going to say what he wants to say. Right. I mean, go back and listen to that. It was like we're just cruising along, and all of a sudden, boom. And it's like, oh, really? You really want to say that? Yeah, of course. And so, he's going to be honest, and he's going to say what's on his mind, and this was no exception.
So this story came out, I don't think we talked to you about this last week because I think it came out last Wednesday about Craig Breslo doing this audit of the Red Sox section of Fenway Sports Group. And you just talked about how he's kind of borderline towing the line of calling out ownership. How different do you think he is in this role than Chaim Bloom and at least his relationship with ownership and how he's running the team? Because when he first came in, honestly, we were all like, okay, it's like another Ivy League guy. It's another smart guy, even though he was a player. So how is it different?
I think that listen, Chaim did a lot of good things, but I think that Breslo has been more proactive in things like this, right? In things like completely overhauling things. In other words, when Chaim came in, everyone's like, oh, well, he's going to do the Tampa Bay way of doing things. And they were still waiting. And it didn't really, take root. And it wasn't all that different. It was a little different, but it wasn't all that different. How Breslo's approaching things is a lot different. And he's taken a lot of heat and a lot of corners for it. But he knew that he was going to have to sort of overhaul what was under the hood.
What corners? Yeah. Where's he taking heat from?
No. Well, the fact they didn't do anything, and they were doing things under the hood.
Got it. I thought you meant
they were
internal.
Doing things like hiring people from Driveline in the offseason instead of actually paying for Jordan Montgomery.
Got it.
So that sort of thing. But I think when it comes to this audit, it's fine. It doesn't hurt. I don't think it's going to have an enormous impact on anything. It's like a few years ago. They had Jerry DiPoto as the GM of Seattle. They actually hired him to come in and just go through the entire minor leagues and do an audit of the minor leagues. And if you talk to DiPoto, he's like, yeah, you know what I figured out? I figured out Rafael Devers was really good. And so there you go. So, I
money
think
well
that,
spent.
Yeah, good job, good evaluation. But, so I think it's another case of Breslo having these ideas and actually putting them into place, and where it lands, I don't know. I know that for the pitching side of things, the things that he has done has had very real impact, as we know with ERA and everything else. But well before this, in spring training, you talk to guys, you talk to players, you talk to Cora. They all saw it. They all saw the real impact that whatever he was implementing was already having. Now, will it last? I don't know. But, that was one of the things that went under the radar. So I don't know if the audit's going to go under the radar. We're not going to hear about it again. My guess is probably that would be the case.
Bradford, it's sale day tomorrow. The Red Sox taking on Chris Sale, and to honor him, they had 3 of their starting pitchers go down with injuries in the first month of the season. So it should be a very emotional day, I would think.
Yeah, he didn't talk today. That was sort of disappointing. And it was. So I talked to him in spring training, and I actually talked to him twice in spring training, and this wasn't. I thought that he would have a good year because I've said this before. He made the point of that he was healthy for the first time coming out of a season, going into spring training, coming out of spring training, going into a season for the first time since 2017, and that must mean something. And I had Alex Anthopoulos, the GM, on the podcast today, and he talked about that they had been trying to get Sale for the last 2.5 years. So, this doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, we all know that he's lost sort of benefit of the doubt when it comes to, is he going to be good for the entire season? Sorry, that's just how it is. And we also can't judge this trade at all because we haven't seen Vaughn Grissom play. A month from now, we might, oh my goodness, Chris Sale has folded, he's hurt, and Vaughn Grissom's awesome. We don't know that yet. But I think the thing that saves the Red Sox in this respect is that it's not like, oh, we got to have Chris Sale because our pitching's so bad. I don't know if you know this, their pitching has been pretty good.
Yeah, so look, I don't really think they missed him. It's just funny and ironic that he's gone out and been healthy and is pitching well. But you're right. We'll see with Vaughn Grissom. You can check out all the latest from Rob Bradford, Baseball Isn't Boring podcast, Alex Anthopoulos on there, if you want to hear the latest on, how they acquired Chris Sale, how it all went down at the last couple of deadlines before ultimately landing him this offseason. Bradford, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, always a pleasure. I'll talk to you later. Is it too late to get Bradley Beal? Is that still a thing or not?
I think that's probably
he's available right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's true. Actually, maybe you can get him.
Phoenix will
trade
him on
him
the trade block.
That's true.
Oh, I miss those days. All right, well, I'll talk to you all later. See you.